Ferdinand Magellan. He is one of the strangest travelers in history. Let's examine the story of this man together. Ferdinand Magellan was born in 1480 in Sabrosa, Portugal, into a small Portuguese noble family. At the age of 12, Magellan and his brother Diogo moved to Lisbon to serve as pages in Queen Leonora's court. During his time at court, Magellan was captivated by tales of the fierce competition between Portugal and Spain for dominance in sea exploration and control of the lucrative spice trade in the East Indies, particularly the Spice Islands, modern-day Moluccas in Indonesia. These stories sparked his early interest in maritime exploration and the pursuit of fame and fortune. In 1505, Magellan and his brother joined a Portuguese fleet bound for India. Over the next 7 years, Magellan took part in multiple expeditions across India, Southeast Asia, and Africa, during which he sustained injuries in several battles. In 1513, he became part of a massive force of 500 ships and 15,000 soldiers dispatched by King Manuel to Morocco to confront the Moroccan governor, who had refused to pay the annual tribute owed to the Portuguese Empire. The Portuguese forces swiftly defeated the Moroccans, and Magellan remained in Morocco. While there, he was severely injured in a skirmish, resulting in a permanent limp. In the 15th century, spices were as central to the global economy as oil is today. Prized for their ability to flavor and preserve food and to mask the taste of spoiled meat, spices like cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, and especially black pepper were incredibly valuable. Because spices could not be grown in Europe's cold and arid climate, immense efforts were made to find the fastest sea route to the Spice Islands. Portugal and Spain fiercely competed for early control of this vital resource. While Europeans had reached the Spice Islands by sailing east, no one had yet succeeded in sailing west from Europe to reach the other side of the globe, a challenge Magellan was determined to conquer. By this time, a seasoned mariner, Magellan sought the support of King Manuel of Portugal for a westward expedition to the Spice Islands. However, the king repeatedly rejected his proposal. Frustrated, Magellan renounced his Portuguese citizenship in 1517 and moved to Spain, where he sought royal backing for his ambitious journey. When Magellan arrived in Seville in October 1517, he had few connections and spoke little Spanish. However, he soon met Diogo Barbosa, a fellow Portuguese expatriate. Within a year, Magellan married Barbosa's daughter Beatriz, and the couple welcomed their son, Rodrigo, a year later. The influential Barbosa family helped Magellan establish ties with officials overseeing Spain's maritime exploration, eventually securing him an audience with the King of Spain. King Charles I, the 18-year-old grandson of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, who had financed Christopher Columbus's 1492 expedition to the New World, welcomed Magellan's petition with the same enthusiasm his grandparents had shown. In return for the king's support, Magellan assured him that his westward sea voyage would yield vast wealth for Spain. On August 10, 1519, Magellan bid farewell to his wife and young son, whom he would never see again, as the Armada de Moluccas set sail. Leading the expedition aboard the flagship Trinidad, Magellan was joined by 4 other ships, the San Antonio, Conception, Victoria, and Santiago. The journey proved to be long and grueling, with only one ship, the Victoria, returning 3 years later across the Pacific, with just 18 survivors from the original crew of 270. In September 1519, the fleet departed from Sanlúcar de Barrameda, Spain, crossing the Atlantic Ocean, then called the Ocean Sea, and reaching South America a little over a month later. There, the ships navigated south along the coastline, searching for the legendary strait that would allow them to pass through the continent. The expedition halted at Port San Julian, where a mutiny erupted on Easter Day in 1520. Magellan swiftly suppressed the rebellion, executing one captain and abandoning another on shore. Meanwhile, the Santiago, sent ahead to scout the route, was wrecked in a storm. The surviving crew members were rescued and redistributed among the remaining ships. After enduring these setbacks, the fleet stayed in Port San Julian for 5 months, waiting for the harsh seasonal storms to subside before continuing. On October 21, 1520, Magellan finally discovered the strait that would later bear his name. The passage through the Strait of Magellan was perilous, with freezing temperatures and strong currents testing the sailors' resolve. Dissatisfaction and distrust of Magellan persisted, and during the early days of navigating the strait, the crew of the San Antonio mutinied, forcing their captain to desert. The ship turned back and returned to Spain, leaving Magellan with only 3 of his original 5 ships to continue the voyage. After over a month navigating the strait, Magellan's remaining fleet emerged in November 1520 to witness a vast ocean stretching before them. They became the first recorded Europeans to lay eyes on this immense body of water, which Magellan named Mar Pacifico, the Pacific Ocean owing to its seemingly tranquil nature, a stark contrast to the perilous waters of the strait they had just conquered. However, the Pacific is far from always calm. It has historically been the site of devastating natural events such as tsunamis, typhoons, and hurricanes, which have wreaked havoc on the Pacific Islands and nations along the Pacific Rim. At the time, little was known about the geography beyond South America, and Magellan optimistically believed the Pacific crossing would be swift. In reality, it took the fleet 3 grueling months to traverse the vast Mar Pacifico. The crew endured an agonizing wait, longing for the moment they could shout, "Land ho!" Finally, in March 1521, the fleet reached the Pacific island of Guam, where they were able to restock their desperately depleted food supplies. Magellan's fleet continued to the Philippine archipelago, landing on the island of Cebu. There, Magellan formed an alliance with the local inhabitants and, inspired by a sudden wave of religious fervor, sought to convert them to Christianity. Though he was now closer than ever to reaching the Spice Islands, Magellan agreed to help the people of Cebu in a conflict with their neighbors on the island of Mactan. Confident in the superiority of European weaponry, he ignored the advice of his crew and personally led the attack. However, the Mactanese put up a fierce resistance, and Magellan was fatally struck by a poisoned arrow. He died on April 27, 1521. Magellan would never reach the Spice Islands, but after losing another vessel, the fleet's 2 remaining ships arrived at the Moluccas on November 5, 1521. Ultimately, only the Victoria completed the circumnavigation of the globe, returning to Seville, Spain, in September 1522. The ship carried a valuable cargo of spices but had only 18 surviving crew members from the original expedition, among them Italian scholar and explorer Antonio Pigafetta. Pigafetta's detailed journal remains a vital account of the challenges and discoveries the crew faced on their historic journey. Magellan was viewed as a traitor to Portugal. Although he was originally Portuguese, his expedition was funded by King Charles I of Spain. This infuriated King Manuel I of Portugal, who took drastic measures to oppose him. Manuel ordered operatives to sabotage Magellan's preparations, had his family properties vandalized, and may have even orchestrated an assassination attempt. After Magellan set sail, Manuel went further by dispatching 2 groups of Portuguese caravels to chase his fleet, with the aim of capturing Magellan and bringing him back to Portugal in chains. Magellan's expedition reported encountering giants in South America. While anchored off the coast of what is now Argentina, Magellan's crew claimed to have met men standing over 8 feet tall on the shores of Patagonia. After forming a friendly rapport with these giants, Magellan allegedly tricked them into boarding his ship and captured one of the men. This giant was later baptized and named Paul, but he died during the fleet's lengthy crossing of the Pacific Ocean. Historians believe that the giants Magellan encountered were likely members of the Tehuelche, a tall indigenous group native to southern Chile and Argentina. Though Magellan's crew likely exaggerated their height, the legend of Patagonian giants endured for many years. The next circumnavigation of the globe occurred nearly 60 years after Magellan's expedition returned. When the Victoria, the sole surviving ship, reached Spain in September 1522, only 18 men remained from the original crew of around 260. The feat of circumnavigating the globe was so monumental, and the success of Magellan's expedition so unlikely, that it took 58 years before anyone attempted it again. This second journey was led by the English navigator Sir Francis Drake, who set sail in 1577, largely following Magellan's route. Like Magellan's fleet, Drake's armada suffered greatly during the long voyage, and when he returned to England in 1580, only his flagship, the Golden Hind, remained.